I will show an easy way to download pricing data for all the constituents of the S&P 500 market index at the same time using Yahoo Finance. The first thing to do is to import the appropriate libraries and then check for a source, look for a source that contains all of the tickers that are included in the S&P 500. So for the sake of this example, we're going to be using the Wikipedia website, and we can see that in Wikipedia we can find the table with the components of the S&P 500. This is the one what we need. The column that we are looking for is the column symbol because it contains all of the tickers again in that market index. But notice that if we keep scrolling down, there is another table that has something that we are not interested in. It is the selected changes to the list of S&P 500 components. So we go back to the Jupyter Notebook to take care of this issue. So the first thing that we do is that we save that URL into a new variable that is called S&P 500 URL in order to feed it into the function read.html available in the pandas data frame. We're going to be storing that information in the variable named data table. So we run this line of code and we inspect the contents of the data table object. So here is the first table that contains the column symbol, which has the information that we need. But in addition, as we can see here, it contains the second table in that website. You can see that the separation is given, that the separation between tables is given by the information of each of the tables. In the case of the first table, it is 503 rows and by 9 columns. And in the case of the second table, it is 305 rows by 6 columns. So we're going to be selecting the first one only. We check what is the length of the data table. How many tables does this list contain? So we can see that there are 2. So we're going to be selecting the first one by using the number 0. So we can see that this is the table that we want, and that includes the column symbol that we need, or we are going to be extracting the tickers of this market index. So we can say data, the data table, we select the first column, and in the first table, and from that first table we're going to be extracting only the symbol column. In order to facilitate the manipulation of these tickers, we're going to be forcing this information into a list. So this is going to be the list, and we can already save it into a variable called tickers. So if we inspect this variable tickers, we can see that it includes all of the components of the S&P 500. So how can we check the length of the number of components of the S&P 500? So we can use, for example, the length of the tickers. In this case, there are 503 components in the S&P 500 at this point in time. So let's just, before downloading the information, let's just remember the types of prices provided by Yahoo Finance by typing the following code. So YF download, and we're going to be including, just for the sake of this example, the first component, which is the company 3M, and we are going to be selecting a period equals to only 3 days to speed up the downloading of these data. So we're going to be downloading it, and we see that the types of prices that are returned by Yahoo Finance by default go from open to adjusted close. So most of the time we're going to be working with the adjusted close price, and therefore this is the one that we're going to be requiring. We will download the entire S&P 500, but we will choose only the adjusted close price in order to speed up the downloading of this example. So we can create a new variable that will be called S&P prices, that is going to be equal to YF download, and that is going to be taking tickers, the list of tickers as an argument, and the same period that we selected. In addition, we're going to be downloading the adjusted close price only, again, in order to speed up the download of the information that we want. So we run this line of code, and as you see, it takes some time because of the number of companies that are being downloaded. So we can inspect the contents of that data frame, and we see that it contains the adjusted closing prices for the 503 components of the S&P 500, and for that period that we requested of only 3 days. So this is exactly the information that we wanted. But we need to pay attention to the error messages that are returned by Yahoo Finance. So for example, in this case, you have 2 failed downloads. What happened in this case? So you need to investigate these manually on your own. So for example, we need to first know what does this ticker correspond to what company this ticker corresponds to, BFF and BRK.B, because no data was found, and the symbol and the message says that the symbol may be delisted. So the easiest thing to do is just to go directly to Yahoo Finance in order to check or to search for these specific tickers. The first ticker that was not found was the one of BRKB, and that corresponds to the company Berkshire Hathaway. So in this case, what is the problem? The problem is that in Wikipedia, the ticker symbol is defined as BF.B instead of the ticker symbol given in Yahoo Finance, which uses, instead of a dot, it uses a hyphen. So therefore, if we provide the incorrect ticker to the Yahoo Finance server, it is going to be returning an error and will be therefore returning null values or missing values for that ticker. So let's take a look at the other one. We can see in Yahoo Finance that it corresponds to the Brown-Forman Corporation, and we see that there is the same mistake as before. So we need to take a look, we need to take care of these errors by, first of all, inspecting what type of information was provided by Yahoo Finance when we apply or when we use as input the incorrect tickers. So we can say S&P prices, we check for null values, for any null values in the data frame, and we can see that we receive a list of booleans that returns true if any of the columns of the S&P prices data frame is a null value. So to print the columns that have null values, we can use the following code. We can say S&P prices, we use loc, we want all of the rows, and with regard to the columns, we want only those columns that have missing values. So let's run this line of code, and we can see that those that have missing values are exactly the companies for which Yahoo Finance returned an error. So we can check next whether Yahoo Finance returns any data for the correct tickers. So we can start with the first one, YF download. We can use the correct ticker, which is going to be BF-B, and just download the adjusted close. So we can see that there is indeed information that was not downloaded by through Yahoo Finance because we used as input the incorrect ticker. We can check that if this is the same case for the second ticker symbol, which is BRKB. So we are going to be using it as input, BRKB, and we see that again there is data for that ticker symbol for that company. So in order to correct for these mistakes in the data set, in the list that we saved in tickers. In this case, in this list, the incorrect tickers are included. So we need to change them for the correct ones. So let's do that. What can we do? We can use a very simple find and replace a string for loop to correct for the names of the tickers. We can say for I in the range that corresponds to the length of tickers in order to loop over all of the tickers inside all of the 503 tickers that are included in that variable tickers. What do we want to do? So we want, if the element I of tickers, we can say tickers I, if the element of tickers is equal to the incorrect ticker, we want to change that element of the list tickers to be equal to the correct ticker symbol that is given with a hyphen. So this corrects the first ticker. But remember that we have two. So we need to take care, we are going to be taking care of the second one in the same for loop. We can say elif tickers, the element I of tickers, if it is equal to the incorrect ticker corresponding to BFB, what do we want to do? We want to that element of the list tickers, that element I, to be equal to the correct ticker symbol, okay, which is given with a hyphen. BF hyphen B. So let's check that this is correct, and we can run that for loop, and we can check if this if the results are correct. So let's check if the correct ticker is included in the list tickers and it returns true. We can check for the second one by providing the correct ticker symbol. This is BRKB. We have already checked for BFB, and we see that is true. So this is what we wanted. Now we have corrected the tickers that were wrong in the beginning when we downloaded the tickers from Wikipedia. So we can rewrite the data frames with the correct tickers. YF download, we're going to be including the new variable tickers. Well, we do not need this thing that appeared. So YF download the tickers, and we're going to be using that same period and only remember the adjusted close price. So we download the information. Remember that it is going to be taking some time because there are 503 companies. We're going to be inspecting the new context of new content of that data frame, and we are going to be making sure that for those BRKB and BFB, the correct information were downloaded in the new data frame. So as we can see, this is the correct information which corresponds to the adjusted price for those ticker symbols that had no values because we entered the incorrect ticker symbols. So finally, we can say we can check the length of the S&P index by writing len S&P prices dot columns, and we can see that there are 503 tickers for which we already have the information corresponding to the adjusted price. So this is how we download pricing data for all of the constituents of the S&P 500 market index at the same time using Yahoo Finance. Thanks for watching the video and hope to see you in the next one.